Hi everybody, it's Katie back with another episode of my vlog, and it is the end of the week, so it is time for the Cinema Club Sunday Roundup. I will just start off by telling you guys, no bones about it. We watched Sonic the Hedgehog last Sunday. It was complete dog shit. This is the worst movie I've seen all year. I can't believe how bad it was. I mean, you guys, if you've been following me for a while, you know I'm not the biggest fan of contemporary children's movies or stuff that's overly computer animated. But you know, I've been surprised in recent years. When I took the kids to see the Lego movie, when I took the kids to see Detective Pikachu, I was like, oh, God, I don't want to see this movie, but okay, whatever. I'll take you guys because you really want to see it. And both of those movies actually really pleasantly surprised me. I was like, wow, these are actually good movies, especially Lego Movie. And I had my expectations raised a little bit. Sonic the Hedgehog, that's the one. That's the one that's exactly what I thought these stupid, bullshit, contemporary, overly computer animated, terrible movies are. It's awful. You guys, it was terrible. The best part of the movie is Jim Carrey, and that's not saying much. He doesn't do a great job. He's kind of like Jim Carrey doing an impression of Jim Carrey, doing an impression of Elon Musk, doing an impression of Dr. Robotnik. At the very end of the movie, ooh, spoiler alert, let me spoil the movie for you. He finally turns into the Eggman at the end of the movie. Like the character that you really want to see him as. It's like the end of the end credits scene. Ugh. Anyhow, don't waste your time. It's terrible. Unless you're just like the most diehard Sonic fan on the entire planet, this movie sucked. There's no reason to watch it at all. Moving on. We actually saw some new movies this week that we loved. It's not all terrible on the new movie landscape. It's just terrible with Sonic. A great movie we got to see this week. Finally, we got to see 1917. You guys may remember we tried to see it in the theater, but we got in a bullshit car accident on the way to the theater and then couldn't see it. And then coronavirus. And, you know, here we are streaming the movie on our TV at home, which is totally not the right way to see this movie. I'm going to say the same thing that I said about 2001. This movie is a visual stunner, and it is made to be seen on the largest screen possible, obviously. This is the World War I movie that follows one character through the whole movie, and it's not actually one continuous shot. There's actually two acts in the movie that are each taken as if they're one continuous shot. They're not. There's strategic cuts when the camera moves behind a tree or a rock or whatever. But the intention is there, and they do a really good job of bringing you into the action and really kind of that feeling of being immersed in what's going on. I imagine in 3D IMAX, this would just be a mind melter. They did a great job. It's fantastic. You really do feel like you're right there with the character as he's going along through all of these different, dangerous landscapes, trying to deliver this really important message that these guys are walking into a trap and they need to hold the attack that they're going to be doing. We loved it. All of us loved it. We all thought it was incredible. The kids immediately picked up on the fact that we should be watching it in a movie theater. But if you can't see it in the theater, see it at home. It was great. I'm going to kind of sound like an idiot here, but I mean, it's visually so stunning. It's so amazing. And especially, oh my God, you guys, the scene in the ruins at night that's just completely lit by flares. That was some movie making I've never seen. It was amazing. If you are a fan of war films, if you're a fan of World War I films, if you are a fan of amazing cinematography and just making the camera be a character in the movie, see this movie. You will love it. The one downside of the camera following the one guy around through the whole movie was about halfway through the movie, I realized it kind of felt like I was watching a video game. Like Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild or whatever. Once that thought kind of crept into my head, I found it a little bit distracting, but it didn't take away from the movie that much. I would give this movie an A+ all the way around. Great acting by everyone who's in the movie. Great, all the historical stuff looks fantastic. The costumes are right. The props are right. The trenches look amazing. The scene where the plane crashes into the barn. Oh my God. You guys got to see this movie. If you haven't seen this movie, see this movie. It's amazing. The next night after we saw 1917, we watched another new movie. We watched Color Out of Space, which was also from 2019. I don't think I said that 1917 was, but you guys know that, right? This is the Richard Stanley directed movie starring Nicolas Cage that is based on the H.P. Lovecraft story. Lovecraftian horror is hard to interpret to the big screen. It's like either they're really good or it's just like, what'd you do? They did a great job on this one. We loved it. There is some cheesy, overdone computer animation. You guys know I don't love it. At the end of the movie that's like very unnecessary. And I feel like they could have done better storytelling without that part. But other than that, man, fantastic film. Great story, great storytelling, the way that it unfolds, the way that we watch the family slowly losing it is amazing. There is some truly horrifying stuff in this movie that I don't want to describe at all because I want you to just be caught by surprise when it happens. That was, wow, it just, yeah. Yeah. Very effective, very well done, very horrifying. Really like felt it in my body. This is a great one. We really, really loved it. It's, Nicolas Cage was doing his Nick Cage overacting thing, but it worked in this context. And yeah, everybody does a great job in their roles. The directing is fantastic. Tommy Chong is in the movie also as like a hermit in the woods, which is a perfect character for him. And he was my favorite part of the movie. But yeah, it was fantastic. The one kind of weird part is there's this whole plot point about that Nick Cage is raising alpacas on this like hobby farm, and he's apparently raising the alpacas for their milk, which is something I've never heard of. I am a knitter, and in the context of knitting, alpacas are raised for the wool that they have, which is then turned into yarn and sold to people like me who want to buy high-end yarn for making stuff. I have never heard of anyone wanting alpaca milk, eating alpaca milk, selling alpaca milk. So it was really weird that that was like the focus of why he was alpaca farming. And I'm not sure if that was a joke or if it was serious. But it felt like either like the most ridiculous joke running through this movie or like the movie was partially funded by the alpaca industry or something. Like people talked about alpacas so much in this movie. It was very, out of proportion to the normal amount that you would hear people talking about alpacas in real life. So that, I mean, a little bit confusing there, but I mean, you know, maybe Richard Stanley's just really into alpacas and the concept. Maybe he's a knitter. I don't know, you know, who knows? Interestingly enough, I did not realize that the movie was directed by Richard Stanley. When we chose to watch it, he also directed Hardware back in 1990. It was his first feature-length film. And that one has actually been on our watch list for quite a while. And right before we watched Color Out of Space, like 2 days before, we actually decided we're watching Hardware tonight. So it'll be interesting to kind of, we've watched his most recent movie and now we're going to go back and watch his first movie from 1990. So I'm super excited to kind of like, you know, it's always fun to see one artist's work from two totally different times kind of right next to each other and see like how have they changed, how have they not, you know, what's it going to be? So I'm excited about that. Let's see. The next thing we watched this last week, on Wednesday, we had Western Wednesday, and we watched High Noon from 1952. This is the one starring Gary Cooper and Grace Kelly. Gary Cooper is the marshal of the town of Hadleyville, and he's retiring. He marries Grace Kelly at the beginning of the movie, and they're going to be leaving town together, but the new marshal is not showing up until tomorrow. It's a peaceful small town, though, so this isn't supposed to be a problem, except the notorious evil villain character who's like a murderer who Gary Cooper, as the marshal, had sent to jail previously, has been released from jail and is coming into town on the noon train to kill our hero, Gary Cooper's character. I can't remember what his name is. So he has to go around town and try to rally a posse of townsfolk to help him face down this bad guy and his three henchmen, who are going to be, the henchmen are already waiting at the train station, but the actual bad guy is coming in on the noon train. The movie unfolds in real time. With the whole story is told in the span of the movie. And there's a lot of focus on clocks and time passing in a very effective, very suspenseful way. And it's very disheartening. Gary Cooper goes all around town trying to get everyone to help him, and nobody will. And at the end, he actually has to face down the bad guys by himself in a incredible Wild West in-town gunfight. Last scene of the movie, it is just fantastic. And the movie then ends immediately after the climactic gunfight scene. There's no like happy ending, wrap up, whatever. It's just like, gunfight's over, we're out of here. Roll credits, which I love. You guys know I don't like it when the movie just drags on endlessly, and there's an ending after an ending after an ending. So one of those things I love about old movies is it's like the climax, and then it's just like, bam, curtain, get out of here. Story's over. Fantastic movie. Highly recommended if you've never seen it. It's a great intro into the Western genre. It's a great use of a real limited amount of time and space to tell a story. It's just fantastic all the way around. Totally recommended. 2 thumbs up from Cinema Club for that Western Wednesdays entry. The next night after that, we actually watched a viewer recommendation from one of you guys. Our buddy Nick recommended Bad Blood, the movie, which came out in 2016. It was directed by Tim Rice, who actually is the guy who directed the short Budfoot that I reviewed back on 420. We had no idea that it was him going into the movie. We just watched it on Nick's recommendation because it sounded so funny. And boy, this is a fantastic movie. It is a solid B movie. You know, campy, so sort of kind of crappy acting, kind of crappy writing, kind of cheesy special effects, but man, has this movie got a lot of heart, and they do a lot with the concept, which is werefrogs. That's right. You know, if you get attacked by a werefrog, then you're going to be turning into a horrendous amphibian monster under the full moon, unless, of course, you can get the antidote. There's nothing more to say here. This is a great, great B movie. If you are a fan of Toxic Avenger and trauma films or anything like that, you will absolutely love Bad Blood, the movie. There's a lot of movies called Bad Blood somehow. This one is Bad Blood, the movie from 2016. Totally recommended for fans of cheesy, campy, awesome B horror movies. Just if everything I'm saying is ringing your bells right now, watch Bad Blood, the movie. You will not regret it. We had such a great time with this one. It was just a really great, really fun one that is just, you guys got to see it. Got to see it. All right. That's it. The last movie we watched this week, last night, we actually finally got to check out Green Book from 2018, of course, winner of multiple Academy Awards, including Best Picture. It was fantastic. We loved it. If you guys haven't seen this one, it is the story of a Black musician and his white driver making a tour through a bunch of music venues in the Deep South in 1962, of course, during Jim Crow segregation era. It's really interesting because it's a very serious story, and it's very touching, but it's also very funny because it's directed by Peter Farrelly of the Farrelly brothers. And man, the guy knows how to direct a comedy. And so he uses this really great comedic hand with this very serious story. And you have, as a result, this very touching, very funny, very serious movie that is just fantastic. Both of the principal actors, Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali, are amazing. All of the side characters are amazing also, but the two principals they just nail it, knock it right out of the park. The music in the movie is amazing. The musical performances in the movie are amazing. All of the dialogue as written is just fantastic. The play back and forth between the two men is just wonderful. It's about halfway through the movie, I turned to Sean and I said, I feel like the pitch for this movie was, let's do an Odd Couple reboot, but it's mismatched racial stuff going on in Jim Crow era South. And it's just, it's fantastic. If you guys haven't seen it and you're interested in any of the stuff that I just talked about, I would highly recommend it. We were going to watch it by ourselves, but then we watched it with the kids and they loved it. Pretty interesting take. We live in such a different time now. And there's a climactic scene in the movie where the character, the black musician character, is not being allowed to eat in a restaurant in the hotel where he's about to be the headliner playing the show. And it's this whole very well done scene. And the kids are just sitting there going, what? This is the stupidest thing I ever heard of. How does that make any sense that you're going to hire this guy to play a concert at your hotel, but you're not going to let him eat in the restaurant? And I was like, exactly, guys. Like, right? It makes no sense. So they just baseline. They were like, what? So I guess they're Generation Alpha. I don't even know what generation we're on now, but they're like post-racial enough, I guess, that they really saw the problem with it immediately and were totally confused by some of the characters' motivations. And I had to explain what stuff used to be like back then for them. So the times they're changing. It's slow, but it ever forward, right? All right, that catches me right up to today. Tonight, like I said, we're going to watch Hardware from 1990. I am super excited to show this one to the kids. A great science fiction dystopian horror classic. If you guys haven't watched that one, highly recommend it, but you're going to have to wait for next week for my review. What have you guys been watching this week? I know a couple of you are always provide me with such a great long list of movies, and I always pick a few things out of your list to put on my list. So always interested to hear what you guys have been watching, what you're planning on watching, or what else is going on. Leave me a comment down below. I will be back in a few more days with another episode of my vlog. I think I'm going to do my next vlog on Wednesday instead of Tuesday. And I might have a special guest because Wednesday is Jimmy's 10th birthday. I'm going to try to convince him to come on the vlog and let me interview him about what it's like to be him. So who knows? Maybe you'll see him in this space. But either way, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in a few days. Take care.